This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Monday, March 22nd, 2021. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the Biden administration continues to defend its efforts on the southern border, with officials still denying the situation is a crisis, even as migrants keep flocking to the United States. Israel heading into its fourth elections in just 2 years, that vote as it still faces the threat from Iran, and young Palestinians being educated to hate Israel. A father in Canada arrested for violating a court order by speaking out against his own child's gender transition. We're going to hear that story from FaithWire.com's Dan Andros. And a big happy birthday today to CBN founder Dr. Pat Robertson, number 91. All those stories and more ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to begin this half hour with the migrant situation on America's southern border continuing to deteriorate. President Joe Biden says he plans to visit it eventually. Former President Donald Trump is blaming the White House for turning what he called the most secure border in U.S. history into a, quote, disaster. But the Biden team is defending its efforts. Dale Hurd is on the story.
The crisis on the southern border is worsening, with more than 15,000 migrant children now in U.S. custody, and a new report that the Biden administration is spending $86 million to house migrants in hotel rooms. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas continued to call the border situation a challenge and not a crisis, and blamed the Trump administration for it.
The border is secure. The border is closed. It takes time because the entire system was dismantled.
But Senator Tom Cotton said it's the Biden administration that's done the dismantling and called their border policy recruit and release.
He's basically saying that the United States will not secure our border, and that is a big welcome sign to migrants from across the world.
The media and lawmakers from both parties have criticized the Biden administration for restricting press access to overcrowded facilities housing unaccompanied migrant children.
Children standing up with nowhere to sit down, children who can't all lay down at the same time or can't lay down at all.
Biden said Sunday he intends to travel to the southern border at some point, but said he's in no rush because he knows what's going on there. Donald Trump released a statement in response to Biden's remarks on Sunday, saying we proudly handed the Biden administration the most secure border in history, and that it has turned a national triumph into a national disaster. This migrant from Honduras traveling through Mexico to the U.S. border said he wanted to thank Joe Biden from the bottom of our hearts for opening the border. When this migrant who crossed the border was asked if he would have tried it when Donald Trump was president, he responded, definitely not. Texas Congressman Michael McCall says with the spring weather, the situation on the border is only going to get worse.
The message is coming back that, hey, we got a new president, come on in, we're open for business to the traffickers, and I predict 1 million people trying to get into this country by the summertime.
This has also created a crisis for Mexico, which has had to place many more officers on its southern border. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Former President Donald Trump will soon be starting his own social media platform. That is according to one of his senior advisors, Jason Miller, the spokesperson for the Trump 2020 campaign. He told Fox News' Media Buzz Sunday his new platform is going to be big. He said it will completely redefine the game and attract tens of millions of people. The move is expected to happen in the next 2 to 3 months. Former President Trump was kicked off Twitter earlier this year. I want to turn now overseas. Israelis will vote tomorrow in their fourth election in just 2 years. And once again, the race boils down to a referendum on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He has served as prime minister for the past 12 years. 2 issues will dominate the minds of Israelis as they go to the polls: restarting the economy after the coronavirus and the threat from Iran. Netanyahu appears to have the advantage heading into tomorrow's vote, but many voters have been saying they were still undecided. One of the ongoing problems any new Israeli government will face will be the continued hostility from some Palestinians, which at times has been fueled by international organizations. The United Nations group responsible for overseeing the education of Palestinian refugees recently said it had removed violent and anti-Israel content from school book texts. But an investigation into brings into question that so-called resolution, finding any changes don't go far enough. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings us this story.
During 2020, Palestinian children, like many others around the world, couldn't go to school due to COVID-19. During that time, United Nations Relief Works Agency, or UNRWA, produced and provided the students material that went way beyond reading, writing, and arithmetic.
We found that it contains various violations of UN values, of UNESCO standards, and of UNRWA's own principles. These were educational materials which were distributed to over 320,000 Palestinian children across the West Bank and Gaza.
Marcus Sheff leads a group that monitors peace and cultural tolerance in schools. It examined the material sent to those children, and what they found was not good.
The idea that UNRWA, a UN organization, is distributing material which calls on students to defend the motherland with blood, or that glorifies terrorists and directs students to terrorists like Dalal Mughrabi, who is in their materials a role model for young girls, somebody who murdered 38 people, including 13 children on a civilian bus.
This impact group report from January lays out examples found throughout the curriculum. In mathematics, students are asked to write the number of martyrs in the First Intifada. A language studies question asks students to find the preposition in a sentence like, "Jihad is one of the doors to paradise." And in social studies, where Zionist policy is blamed for exhausting Palestinian natural resources.
It was written by UNRWA's teachers. Now, UNRWA's teachers are supposed to be trained in UN values of peace and tolerance.
Following the January impact report, UNRWA admitted to the problem and assured governments it had been addressed. A follow-up study by the impact team, however, shows that was not the case.
Within these materials, we also found hateful material which young people anywhere should not be studying, and certainly not being taught by a UN organization. So, I think what we see here is that, UNRWA is absolutely part of the problem in relation to the incitement of young people in the region.
In one social studies exercise, 6th graders are shown a map of the British Mandate called Palestine that does not include any Israel reference, and told Palestine is the geographical area which extends from the Mediterranean Sea in the west to the River Jordan in the east, and from Lebanon and Syria in the north to the Gulf of Aqaba and Egypt in the south. Its location gave it strategic importance, making it coveted by invaders and colonial powers. And there's another problem.
And that is, if you have distributed print materials to 320,000 children, then you found that you had been distributing hateful material. How exactly did UNRWA get those materials back? We have no answer to that.
Former President Trump cut funding to UNRWA because of this kind of incitement in Palestinian schools. President Biden has pledged to resume humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. Sheff maintains the world should expect transparency from any United Nations body, and until UNRWA can prove otherwise, it should be understood the organization teaches hate. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Back here at home, the legal team for a high school football coach fired for praying with his players says he will appeal his latest loss in court. In a unanimous panel opinion, 3 judges on California's 9th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled Coach Joe Kennedy's 50-yard line post-game prayers were a violation of the Constitution's Establishment Clause. Judge Milan Smith writing, Kennedy's attempt to draw nationwide attention to his challenge to distract showed that he was not engaging in private prayer. Instead, he was engaging in public speech and of an overtly religious nature while performing his job duties. In 2019, the former Bremerton, Washington high school coach told CBN News why he was fighting the district.
Praying I could do anywhere. The Christian side of me was like, yeah, well, you don't take away my faith. Prayer makes no difference where you do it. But the Marine in me, I was like, yeah, I will fight for the Constitution and everybody's rights. It means something to me. I got blood in that game.
Kennedy's prayer called the decision wrong and contradictory to the Constitution. Coming up, a father in Canada arrested for violating a court order telling him not to speak about his child's gender transition. We're going to get the details from Dan Andros of faithwire.com. When we come back, stay with us.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Your news channel. Your shows, the stories you care about, anytime you want, anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
Canadian police arrested a father last week for violating a court order that banned him from speaking out about his daughter's gender transition. Here now to talk with us more about that is Dan Andros of faithwire.com. So, Dan, how did this court order come about?
Yeah, well, Ephraim, in January of last year, this Canadian father went to court after learning his daughter was undergoing hormone therapy transition to a boy. The child, whose name has been protected and not used, claims to have been exploring this transition since before she was a teen. Now, the family has had some personal issues. The mother and father had split. And she was beginning to hang out with some kids at school that the father said were a bad influence, and she was getting into trouble. But perhaps most disturbing in all of this, the school counselor had changed the child's name without even telling the father. And the school socially transitioned the biologically female child on its own initiative with the input of a gender ideologue psychologist there at the school. And so when he went to court, then the judge ruled that the father couldn't use the new pronouns of the preferred pronouns of this child.
What did the judge tell this father?
Yeah, so the BC Court of Appeals ruled that the father couldn't voice that opposition, as I mentioned. And the Chief Justice there said the dad's refusal to accept his teenage daughter's choices was troublesome. Adding that his failure to fully endorse his kid's desire for irreversible transgender treatments had caused the minor significant pain that had resulted in a rupture of what both parties refer to as an otherwise loving parent-child relationship. So they seemed more disturbed about the father's response to this than the child's transition.
Now, we understand this child started identifying as a male at age 11 and is now 15. What led to the decision?
Yeah, so as I had mentioned, those family problems had manifested themselves, and so she was seeing a school counselor Now, during those counseling sessions, that's when the father later learned that the child had been shown these videos that he said amounted to nothing more than gender propaganda videos. And so it was through the watching of these videos and the guidance of the school counselors and the gender ideologues that they sort of pushed this, according to the father, on the child. And that's what sort of led to this desire to transition.
What's been the father's response to all of this?
Well, the father is devastated, and he has maintained that he's not going to cave and call his daughter a boy or he, and so he's been staying firm on that, and he really says that it's dangerous, that these are irreversible decisions. He said she can never go back to being a girl in the healthy body that she should have had. She's going to forever have a lower voice. She'll forever have to shave because of facial hair. She won't be able to have children. The father has accused the government of, quote, state-sponsored child abuse.
What do you have for us on FaithWire this evening?
Well, we're going to be talking about spotting and stopping Christian religiosity, kind of looking for those ways that we sort of are all a little bit legalistic. And so how are they manifesting themselves today for Christians and culture?
All right, Dan Andros of FaithWire.com. Thank you so much, Dan. I want to remind you at home that you can catch FaithWire this evening at 8:30 Eastern. You can find that on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, she's a well-known Fox News host who went from a ranch in Wyoming to the White House, but it almost didn't happen for Dana Perino. We're going to hear her remarkable stories from her life when we come back right after this.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Welcome to Studio 5 Uncut. This is our opportunity to share extended conversations with some of the great guests we've had on Studio 5.
You can't go anywhere on the planet and not see the impact of gospel music on popular culture.
Now you're a comedian and a Christian. You know, why is that such a baffle?
Being an artist who is Christian and an artist who's in hip-hop culture, I'm trying to find my own sound.
Studio 5 Uncut. Next.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
And welcome back to CBN News Watch. She's a longtime favorite on the 5 on the Fox News Channel. And now Dana Perino co-anchors America's Newsroom. From a rural ranch in Wyoming to the White House and beyond, her success has skyrocketed, but she almost missed out on her first big break. That is just one of the stories she shared with CBN's Jenna Browder from her new book, Everything Will Be Okay. Take a look.
Professionally, you could say Dana Perino has done it all. And now in her new book that's geared toward young women, she's showing how you can too with some great advice.
She is
Dana Perino. You probably know her best from Fox News, where she was just named co-anchor of America's Newsroom.
I had no idea how much I would love doing this show with Bill Hemmer. I love the news. I'm actually very awake naturally in the mornings. Like I wake up ready to go. Like I don't need any warm-up time. He is such a generous colleague. He's kind. He's thoughtful. He's smart. We have so much fun in the mornings. And he asked me a couple of weeks ago, do you like the show? I said, I love the show. He said, when did you know that you would like the show? I said, after the first A block, 9:21 on our first day, I was like, I love it. I love it.
Dana also co-hosts The Five each evening.
I just feel a real renewed energy in my career, and I'm really grateful for that. At this point in your life, you think, well, what's next? What am I going to do? Maybe I've reached the top of my career, but no, yet there was another twist and a turn just as this book was coming out, and I thought, well, gosh, I'm going to have to reread that to get my own advice.
And it's chock full of it. Everything will be okay. Life lessons for young women from a former young woman. Her story and what she's learned along the way. From Wyoming and Colorado, where she was raised, to the White House, where she became press secretary for President George W. Bush, a role Dana almost forfeited.
So I go to the White House that Monday. I'm very nervous because I don't really want to leave the White House, but my husband and I made this decision. I thought it was a good decision. And I see Ed Gillespie, the communications director, and I said, hi, can I talk to you and see you after this morning's meeting? He said, yes, I need to talk to you too. Okay, great. I was so nervous, like that feeling of nerves from your toes all the way up through your chest, and I couldn't breathe. Meeting ends, and Ed says, Dana, can you stay? I said, sure. So I stay. And I sit down, and as people are filing out, I went to blurt out my news. And he said, hey, do you mind if I go first? And I said, oh, sure. And he said, so the president would like to name you as press secretary on Friday. And I said, great, wonderful. What do I need to do to help us get ready or something like that?
She says she wonders what would have happened had she gone first in that conversation.
It's just another example of God's grace and trusting that he has the plan. You don't have to plan. You can stop planning. Now you can have goals. You can work very hard. You can make assignments for yourself for how you want to improve and learn more about things and be a better writer and add more reading and go to bed early and like really try to take care of yourself, because that's a really important decision. But the truth is that everything is okay because everything is in his hands. That's how I see it.
Throughout the book, Dana talks about the important role faith plays in her life. Love, too. She says marrying her husband, Peter, was one of the best decisions of her life.
I met him on an airplane when I was 25. That's like a whole great love story. And my career has really been enhanced because of him. And one of my favorite pieces of advice in the book is choosing to be loved is not a career limiting decision. That you can make a commitment. Your career will not suffer because you choose that loving relationship in your life.
Her passion for mentoring led Dana to write the book.
I love working. I love my job. I love all these opportunities that I've had. But I feel like at this point, one of the most rewarding things about working is helping younger people achieve their goals. And there's lots of different ways that you can do that.
2 words she uses throughout the book, joy and serenity.
Finding serenity is just so important to me. And I really think that it has helped me be something that a friend recently called me. Leo Terrell, I don't know if you recognize his name. He's on Fox News a lot. He's out in California. He said, you are so energetically calm. I thought, oh, I think maybe I've made it, because that's how I really want to be. And I want to help others try to get to that point too.
And we should mention Dana dedicates the book to her mom, who she says was the first person to ever tell her that everything will be okay. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Coming up, it's a big day for CBN's founder, Dr. Pat Robertson, as we celebrate his birthday. We'll tell you about that when we come back. Please stay with us.
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
From Washington, D.C., uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody.
It's a 50-50 deadlock pretty much in the Senate.
Jenna Browder.
Meanwhile, doctors believe the newly discovered California variant is behind a massive wave of new cases.
Ben Kennedy.
He is sworn in as the 46th president.
Bringing you the political news that matters.
We're people who are committed to protecting the most weakest and the most vulnerable.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6.
It's an important day here at CBN, especially for our founder, Dr. Pat Robertson. Today marks his 91st birthday. Dr. Robertson started CBN in 1960, and with his faithfulness to God, the Lord built it into a global ministry that reaches with a wide variety of programming. He also founded Regent University, where he serves as the chancellor and president of Regent University. Operation Blessing to help those in need in the U.S. and internationally. He's written a number of books and so much more. Dr. Robertson will be honored with a celebration on today's edition of the 700 Club. The CBN staff, partners, and supporters around the world are wishing him a happy birthday today, and may it come with many more. Time now for your Monday motivation. Today I want to leave you with this thought. Keep pressing. You're on the brink of the change you have been waiting to see. Keep pressing. With that word, I encourage you to make this a marvelous Monday. God's got you, all of you, back, front, side, inside, and out. He's got it all. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel or online at cbnnews.com at any time. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.